Go for it.
Cool, cool. Hi, everyone. Welcome to my journey. As always, this is a program where we talk about parenting, especially on sexuality issues. And we are trying to raise up children who are sober about their sexuality, who can make sober decision when it comes to sex, love, and relationship. I am your host today, Sarah Kibazo, and I'm so honored to just have you all on board. This is amazing. It's so amazing. Um, and Well, I just want to say something about my journey. This is a program that I began like 2 years ago, and I began it after my own personal experience when I was like struggling how to talk to my kids when it comes to their sexuality. And in the hustle of maybe trying to get am I supposed to go about it, how am I going to do it, then I met Amy, who is our guest today. I'll just introduce her in our and she has a school where she actually teaches parents on how to go about sexuality issues with their kids. And it's an amazing school. So I got admitted in her school and I actually graduated and I'm here. I'm here today. And after the graduation, I told Amy, you know what? I think your stuff is more American than African. So
Right.
I want to do it African.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to do it the African way. And she was like, go ahead, go ahead. And she gave me all the blessing to begin an African thing. And that's how I began my journey. And so I converted everything that was in school. Like my school was the bad, busy kids school. And everything I got there, I just tried to connect it to our culture, to our African way. And that's how my journey began. That's how my journey began. And we are here today. And I'm so glad this is my first ever Zoom meeting kind of training. And today we are just going to talk about sexuality and values. All right. So I'm going to invite Amy. Before I go on, I'm going to invite Amy and I want her to just maybe introduce herself. She's actually my teacher. What a pleasure to have a teacher student connection today, as in she's just endorsing what I'm doing. And this is amazing. This is amazing. So she's going to be one of our panelists today. And I'm sure you're going to enjoy it and we are all going to learn. So just grab some water, cup of tea. We are Kenyan. We love tea in the evening. Grab some tea, just put it somewhere and and enjoy. Yeah,
Yeah.
enjoy. Amy, welcome. Tell
Yeah.
us about yourself.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And the pleasure is all mine. I love you, Sarah, and I'm so excited for what you're doing. And when you reached out to me, I was really surprised, but I was also just really delighted. So, obviously, I am white and I'm American. I live in Seattle, Washington. I've been married for 27 years to the same person, and I have a son who's 19. And I just want to say that I'm educated and I'm secular and I'm liberal, and this is who I am, and I know that we're different, but I also know that one thing that we all want is we all want our kids to be healthy and happy and safe, and that's why I do the work that I do. I've been a sexuality educator for over 25 years, and when I had my son, I thought that I was just going to be great at talking with him about sexuality because I knew so much. And I was not. I was embarrassed and I was uncomfortable and I didn't know what to say to him or how to say it. And so I did some research like Sarah did. Like, I was like, how do I do this? I didn't have a good example and I want my child to be really smart about this part of life. And so I figured out how to do it. And then I also have a master's degree and my focus was in teaching adults. So I just put those two things I love to do together. And here we are. And it's been 14 years and my son was 5, I think, when I started. And, he was pretty uncomfortable having a mom who's a sexuality educator, but he's launched, he's in college. And so anyway, so I just want to say one thing about talking about values, which is this, like, this is the most fundamental part of talking with your kids. And because we share that value of wanting kids to be healthy, be happy, have a base of values so they make better, maybe better decisions than we did. I just was really excited that Sarah was starting her first Zoom webinar adventure with this really, like, I think most important part of parenting and sexuality. So thanks. Back to you.
Welcome, Amy, and welcome everyone else. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much. This is a pleasure. Honestly, it is, yeah. And I just want to begin by maybe defining some words, especially sexuality. You know, most of the time we, I don't know, most people, when you talk about sexuality, they think you're talking about sex, but really sexuality is not sex. You know, you're not talking, when we say that you're talking to your kids about their sexuality, you're not just talking about sex. It's not actually sex, but sexuality is the way you feel about yourself, all right? The way you feel about yourself, maybe your thoughts, how you think towards yourself. Do you think, you know, if you think of yourself as a woman, as a man, you know, that is your sexuality. How do you accept yourself, as in, if you're fat, you're tall, you know, that's your sexuality actually. And if maybe you are let's say, what do you call it, like how you get attracted to other people. Maybe you're attracted to maybe girls who are this tall, or this, you know, maybe you're attracted to men who are this huge or this small. That's all about sexuality. It's not actually about sex. And it's still about your behavior. How do you behave towards other people? That's still sexuality. So when we talk about sexuality, we are actually talking about a whole humanity, like a whole human being. Yeah. And sexuality takes the biggest part of us as humans, apart from the fact that we talk to our kids about their spiritual life, their, I mean, academics. You know, sexuality is one of those things that it is important for us also to talk to our children about. We're not talking about sexuality today, we're talking about values. And I just want to maybe pose a question to one of you. I don't know who is going to answer it, but I'll just want an answer from you, our audiences. Maybe you can tell us what hopes do you have for your kids? As in, when you think about your child, especially regarding their sexuality, what hopes do you have? What hopes do you have for your kids? Maybe you can just unmute yourself and give us an answer. I don't know who is ready.
And Sarah, it might be help if you talk about, like, what are some of the hopes for your kids?
Oh, exactly. And I'm gonna say this. My hope for my kids is that they would make the most sober decisions regarding their sexuality, better choices than I did. And probably that they'll get into maybe sex or marriage. I mean, sex during marriage, yeah. Before, they'll just get into sex during marriage. And my hope is that at the end of it, they will be able to give me grandchildren at the time I want them to come. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know sometimes we get into that point whereby you're made a grandma even before you're ready, so, or a granddaddy. So my hope is that that will come at the right time. So what are your hopes? What are your hopes for your kids? Amy, you can go on. What's your hopes for your son?
Well, my son is 19 and he has his first girlfriend. And so one of the things that I really hoped for him was that he know what it's like understands what a healthy relationship looks like. So he could know and can know when he's with his girlfriend, like, is this healthy? Is this not healthy? Because that is really, for me, fundamental to having a healthy sense of sexuality, because relationships are, like, that's what it's all about. So that was one of my most important values, one of my biggest hopes for him. Does anybody else have anything similar to that? What do you think? And feel free to unmute, because that's how we're going to hear your voices. And
Exactly.
and one of the things about talking about your hopes for your kids is that I think that it helps you, like when you hear somebody else's hope, it helps you like, oh yeah, that. And so if there's something else you want to add, we love to hear it. Or if you're feeling shy about talking, you can pop it in the chat and we can,
Exactly.
I'll read it.
Exactly. All
Read.
right. Bovins, maybe you can tell us something. What are your hopes for your kids?
Oh, we can't hear you.
We can't hear you. I don't know. Unmute yourself.
I think he's unmuted.
Okay.
Yeah, he is. Try again. Oh, I'm making things go crazy. I won't. I'm having a Zoom. Shoot.
Oh, sorry, we can't hear you.
Anybody else?
Abe, can you try? Can you unmute yourself and tell us what your hopes for your kids regarding their sexuality? Oh, we can't hear you so clearly.
You know good. You know good. Hakim, how are you good?
We can't hear you, Abe.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hello. Good evening. We can hear you now. Are you in a crowded place? You have your mask on. I almost put mine on. Go on, Abe. Unmute yourself, please. Unmute yourself.
I can unmute him.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, go on now. Yeah. Oh, you unmute. You muted
Here,
yourself.
I'll do it. Hang on. Don't do anything, Abe. Don't move. Here. Okay, I'm going to ask you to unmute. Okay, go.
I've done that.
Okay, good.
Okay, I'll repeat again. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you.
I've put on this mask simply because I'm in a quarantine. You'll forgive me for that. And actually, I'm a father of one. I'm just so happy to be part of this meeting, and I'm learning a lot, I should say. And I wish this could continue more and more. But being a father of one girl, it is really very difficult for me as how you can approach your daughter and come up with such a conversation. Sometimes it is very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
sure.
not both parents would find it okay, like to tell your girlfriend, your wife, okay, please do this, do this. In some situations, there are things you would want to say yourself, but you're forced to write them down or to tell your partner, please do this this way. Try and to emphasize on the following, like that. So it is really difficult, most especially for fathers.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know if it is the same with my brother here, Mosa Chivazo, or he's finding it so easy on his side, being that the mother is is the one running the talks and all that. I should say that we really need some advice regarding this, on how we can go about it. We as fathers, most especially we as fathers. I don't know if it's advisable for
Thank you very much, Abe.
And then my last question is, I would like to ask something. Is it advisable for a father to carry on with this talk with a daughter, or it is not it is not okay with it at all.
Okay, we'll talk to you about that. We'll talk
Yeah,
to you about that.
it's a
And
great
actually,
question.
I'm planning a daddy daughters program soon. I hope you'll be on, because I really want
I will
our
be on.
dads to take over. Yeah, it's our
Yes.
African culture, and actually, this is one of the things that made me want to start this thing, because as Africans, we have it's a taboo actually even to talk about sex, not only even to your own daughters, but even to just somebody else, like your own father or mother talking to you about sex. It's something we don't do. We don't totally do. And you see, most of the time we learn from either people, or you just learn it by yourself, or you learn it from books, and you go experiment things that maybe don't have values. And that's the reason why I even came up with this topic today, that it is because it is important for us as parents to talk to our kids. And it is also hard because nobody talked to us. And so we really need to retract ourselves and find our place, so that we can begin these talks with values. Because when we expose our children out there, right now they're exposed to so much technology, so many books, so many friends, but nobody gives them values. Values can only come from you as a parent. And the values they'll get outside there may be very negative values that you would not even believe. So that's why I came up with this. And I believe that at the end of it, and even as we continue doing more programs, we are going to, gain that confidence, get a starting point, and take it on, as Africans. Yeah. As you see Amy on the other end, probably you'll think in their place, the problems are easier. But I mean, the problems are much, not as hard as our place. But believe me not, our kids are right now sharing almost the same common problem. They're sharing almost the same common problems because, thanks to internet, right now we are dealing with almost the same things. So let's embrace this. Let's embrace this. Be open. And I know at the end of it all, we are going to gain something. And all the dads here, dads to girls, you are going to have some muscles how to tackle this thing. Yeah.
I
Thank
want
you
to
very much.
say something. Can I say something?
Sure,
I've
sure.
been teaching for 14 years. This is you. Hi, daddies. Like I never have this many dads when I'm teaching. And so I just want to say thank you for being here. And Abe, we're going to talk about what you said, because that is, this conversation about values will give you roots so you feel more confident talking to your daughter. So Sarah, let's get into the good stuff.
Great. So let's get on our questions. So now, Amy is going to answer some of our, she's going to be like our, what do we call her now? Our guest. She's going to answer most of our questions. And please, if you have any question, just write it on the chat, and then I'm going to just pop them out as they come. And so about our topic today. So we want here to maybe help us. How do we clarify our values? How do you clarify your values? And how important is this? Amy, please go on.
So again, I just want to acknowledge that I'm not like you, right? We have very different life experiences. And I think that the thing about values that's so great is that we really all have the same values when it comes to our children. So when it comes to sexuality, one of the main reasons you need to be clear about your values about sexuality and relationships is because it gives you roots. It gives you a place that helps you to feel more confident and comfortable, because values are what help our kids make good decisions. Part of it is having information, but the other piece is that kids really want to know, is this okay? Is it not okay? What do you like? How should I think about this particular thing? And so sometimes parents think, and adults really think, that, oh, my kid just needs to know how to not get pregnant, or how to not get someone pregnant, or how to prevent them from getting an STD. And yeah, that's important, but just giving that information doesn't help them make better decisions. So as a parent, when we talk about clarifying your values, you need to think about, the way I think about values is what do I believe? What do I believe about this thing? And so in the beginning, Sarah talked about one of her hopes for her kids, which was that they wait until they're married, right? Before they have sex, right? And one of my beliefs and one of my hopes for my child is that he understand what a healthy relationship looks like. So those two things are values, right? And so here's the kind of funny part. Like, we have values and beliefs about all kinds of things related to sexuality. So one thing that Sarah, I didn't mention and Sarah didn't mention, I'm very direct. So sorry if I offend you, but part of the reason our kids are in the circumstances they are is because we're not direct. And Sarah kind of spoke to that. So for example, we have values about periods, right? We have values about periods. And so, you know, some of those values they're often negative, right? Like, it's an inconvenience, it's hard, it's like a bad thing. And for, you know, folks raising daughters, that's not a value I would want my daughter to have about something that is a natural process of her body. So thinking about, what do you believe? Like, what do you believe about what a healthy relationship looks like? So what's your value about a healthy relationship? So thinking about, like, waiting until marriage to have sex, that's actually not one of my values. So my value about that is waiting until you're in a healthy relationship where you have good communication with your partner, you trust them, you know them well, you're able to have a conversation about protection and decision making, and they respect you, and they, like, like with my son, that's all the things I want. And so believing all those things and teaching him all those things, when it comes to waiting until marriage before you have sex, it's the same thing, right? Like, you want all those things in place before your kiddo gets married, right? And then let alone become sexually active. So if you spend some time before you start talking, thinking about, what do you believe about these different issues related to sexuality? And then the piece behind that is, how are you going to talk about them? You'll feel better. You'll feel better. It settles you down. And frankly, that's half a sex talk, is like, what do you believe? So yeah, that's kind of where I come from with all that. Sarah, anything to add?
Sure. And one thing I would like to say is that, you see, when it comes to values, values, you can look for every other thing on internet, every other thing on maybe, what do you call it, books. But values are things that you can only bring out from yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Those are things that you can only bring out from yourself. And I normally give this example, like when you go for a church service, most of us who are conversant with the church, when you go to a church service, or even a mosque service, you know, I don't know if it's called a service or what, but after the sermon or whatever the preaching is, you come out and you meet your fellow congregant, and doing some weird things outside there, and you're like, are we coming from the same church? You know, because you're like, I think what we learned there is totally different from what I'm seeing you do.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're like, as in, we come out with different aspects of whatever we've learned there. So the same with values. When we expose our children to the internet, when we expose them to, maybe you've read some books or something, the things that they come out with there are totally different. And values are things that you alone as a parent can instill to your kids. You cannot read these things from somewhere else. I believe my children should have sex before marriage. Maybe you don't believe the same thing, and it's not wrong. It's not wrong. Because how do you tell you know, a hormone raging teen that, you know, you have to wait before sex? I mean, how should I wait before sex? I mean, I just want to have sex, you know. But you see, but you see, the thing is, you have to explain your values to this kid. Why do you want him or her to do this? How do they even achieve that, you know, before maybe they turn to 30 or 20 something? How do they even achieve that? So that is what now we are trying to define here as values. And thank you very much, Amy, for bringing that out. And maybe you can just pop out some questions if you have, pop out questions on the chat, and we are going to just go, I mean, just answer them as they come. So Amy, how do you pass your values to your kids? And what's the importance of passing your values to your kids? Actually, how do we even pass our values to your
Yeah,
kids?
it's a great question. So obviously the first thing is like you need to know what you believe, right? So you need to get clear about that. And then the way you pass them on, it's two things. So the first thing is you need to live them, right? Kids pay way more attention to what we're doing than what we're saying. And since they're being bombarded with all these other messages about what's okay, what's not okay, how they should think, how they should behave, I think we will find it really encouraging to know that we are the most influential people, parents are, when it comes to kids' sexual decision making until they're like in like high school, and then it switches. So here we are, we're really, really influential until about age 13. And then when they get into high school, their peers come up. So earlier conversations are better because they are listening to us. And so you really want to get that in their bones. So a couple things you can do that are pretty easy is, so say you find out, like you hear that a young woman is pregnant, like a young girl is pregnant. So she's 14 or 15 and pregnant. I'm pretty sure that none of us have a value that people should be pregnant at 14, right? Like I am not good with that. I'm guessing y'all aren't good with that. So with your daughter, like this is a good daddy-daughter moment. You could say, hey, wow, she's pregnant. I really imagine that must be really hard for her. I hope for you that, right, when the time comes that you really understand how to, that why you should wait, and here's why you should wait. So you can pepper this conversation in, rather than sitting them down and saying like, that girl got pregnant, that is so bad, she's terrible, she's gonna have a terrible life. Like, sure, that all might be true, but that's not gonna keep your daughter connected to you. So really thinking about like, why is it not okay for a 14-year-old to become pregnant, right? And oftentimes that happens not by, most of the time, it's not by choice, right? So finding a way to gently talk about your values in a way that's very connecting and casual. Kids don't respond very well to lecturing. So being kind of sneaky, but again, this requires you to really think about that. Like, how are you going to handle that? And what are you going to say in a way that's going to help them listen to you? And it's oftentimes easy to say, you can say, I believe this. What do you believe? What do you think? Especially with kids who are Precious is 11, right? Yeah. So yeah, kind of 11 and older, you can really have this back and forth dialogue, because what you're doing is you're helping them. Like, basically, we all want our kids to have the same values, right? I mean, I totally want Milo to have the same values as me and my spouse. But what you're doing is you're giving them some good, healthy ideas, right? So that as they're developing their own value system about this, you've really planted seeds. So think about it like that. You're planting seeds, and it's super important that you keep it casual. So there's stuff in daily life all the time where you can talk about your values. So take advantage. Like, I think about this of like just turn up your antenna your antennas a little bit higher so you'll notice these things. And don't be afraid to talk about it. It's not going to hurt them. It will help them.
Mm-hmm. Sure, Amy, thank you very much about that. I hope everyone else can hear me clearly. This is one thing I would want to also add on and say that when we speak about my journey, we are trying to talk to your kids as early as possible. Just begin these talks as early as possible. By the time your kid turns at maybe 2 years, and they're starting to learn about their body parts, they're starting to know that this is a boy, this is a girl, and this is the time you're supposed to also try to affirm them. Try to make it look like this is a normal thing. It's normal for you to be a girl, it's normal for them to be a boy, and this is how things are. And as Amy was trying to say, because when they turn after 11 years old going up, they try to now connect to their friends more than connect to the parents. So the things that you've been speaking to them all through will stick in their minds. The things that you've been speaking to them all through will stick in their mind. But if you've not started the talk and your kids are in their late teens, it's not late. It's not late to even begin those talks. You can still begin. And so, Amy, still we are taking questions, please. If you have any question
Yeah, let's stop.
regarding values,
Yeah, let's stop.
you can go on. Go on.
Feel free to unmute yourself and ask.
Sure, sure. All right, and we are going to go to the next thing on how to actually help our kids develop their own values. As Amy has said, that the most important thing is for you to live those values, then they will emulate those values. Then now, how do you help them? How do you, what if their values are totally different from you? What if their values are totally different?
That's hard, right? That's really hard because, like I said, like I think we all want our kids to share our values, but just like you don't. Ooh, somebody's here. I'm muting you. Thanks. Somebody's loud. So we all want our kids to share our values, right? And so it's really hard when their values are different than ours, but I'm pretty sure that your values aren't exactly the same as your parents' values or whoever raised you as their values. So you developed your values based from, you started out with your parents, right? Or whoever raised you, you have that kernel of values, and then you figured out what makes sense to you. So if your kids' values are different than yours, it's really important that you talk to them. It's like, especially with teenagers, right? And you know how they think they know everything, right? So one of the ways that it's easier to engage with them is if you think about your conversations with them as like you would talk to one of your peers, one of your friends. So you want to use that style of conversation. You're not being their parent. This is just about a communication style. It's a little bit of a trick. And so that way you can have a dialogue with them because you need to know what they think and what they believe and be open to their development. Adolescents are in this really cool time of sorting out who they are and what they believe. And so if you're steady, even in the face of them, being really different than you, then, sorry, I'm letting people in while I'm talking. You need to stay calm and just have a dialogue with them. And then remember that your goal is for them to be healthy and safe, right? So if they're getting into a value system or talking about something that you are like, hells no, then you need to have a conversation with them about their health and safety. So it's kind of a balance, and you can learn something for your kids. And I know Milo's 19, like I've watched my values change as he's gotten older, as a parent, as a human. So values evolve, they're not static. And if your child is completely different than you, so like if you're really Christian religious family and church is a huge part of your family life and your community, and you're 17 years old is like, I'm done, I'm out, I don't believe this anymore. You can't force them back, because if you try to force them into what you believe and they're in a different track, you're going to lose them. And that's a super painful moment. So I think it just kind of comes back to communication, hanging in there. Remember that your child needs you no matter what they're up to. And it's about safety. It's really about like safety and this kind of gentle, friend-to-friend kind of communication style. They're not your friend, right? But you want to maintain that feeling of that relationship. So I know somebody has a question. I'm getting all pop up. So why don't we just?
I don't know.
Somebody has a question.
Yes, I do have a question.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes, we are talking about values, and I'm trying to look at it differently. That where is going where are the source of our values? Because we are coming from different backgrounds, we are coming from different traditions, and some of us are Christians, some are not. So when you're talking about values, so where should we first of all draw lines when talking? Are you Christian values, or please define for me? Because I will really want to know the source of the value that you're talking about. If you're a Christian, then the Bible should be the source of the value that you're talking about. Because every people have their own values, and their value contradict each other. At the same time, people hold those values preciously into their lives. So we really need to help people. If you're talking about values, are you talking as a believer, or are you talking for just a good as in a Kenyan, or are you talking as in someone who's very adhere to the traditional things? Can you help me there?
Okay. Okay, let me just take that. And thank you very much, Bernard, for your question. And I think we'll just take it back where we said that actually people have different values, and it doesn't. And values are actually cultivated from either our cultures, our religious background, your own intuitive, maybe from friends, from things that you have learned over the years, over the past times. Though all those things factor in when it comes to your values. So when you're talking about values right now, we are talking about general values. And here we're not saying that these are the values or these are not the values. What we are saying is that it is important for you when you talk to your kids regarding their sexuality that you have your values factored in. As you tell them that stay away from sex, okay? Why do you want them to stay away from sex? What do you believe about that? Okay, so as a Christian, I'll base my value from the Bible. And as also, and I've seen so many Christians and even big people. Someone recently even shared with me that their children, after they joined university, came back home and declared that homosexuals. And these are kids that have been with them all through, They have trained them in the ways of the church. They have trained them. But you see now, your values can always be affected by your culture, your beliefs, your religion, everything else can factor in your values. So when you're speaking about values right now, we are talking about general values. So it is up to you as a person, as an individual, to factor your values and lay them down to your kids. And that is why we are saying it is important for you right now, before you even talk to your kids, define your values. What do you believe? Where do you draw your values from? And what if they don't believe what you believe in? Okay. Yeah. So generally right now, what you're trying to say is that it is important for you to factor your values first, even as you talk to your kids regarding their sexuality. I don't know if Amy, you have anything to add, or anybody else in the group. Mwalimu
Okay,
Musa,
yes.
maybe you can tell us something.
Anything
Go
else?
on,
Okay.
Bernard.
Okay, there's something when you're saying that. Thank you, Sarah, for your contribution. Where I stay, actually, I'm in Mombasa, and I am just a place called Mtwapa for information. And Mtwapa people, when people bring up their children, people have different values. People, they value money. And if that's what the parents value, how will these things, they're sending children to the street at night, and they're telling them, no, I am rich because this is what I have done. And that children will look at it and say, okay, mom, if that's the business the mom's doing, then why not follow? So would that really help today, the camp culture? Because there are some people who values money and they can do whatever they can to make sure they have money. So that's why looking at this talk has been, we really also want to help those people who are engraved in these kind of things, and they really want to live a free life, because not many people enjoy doing that. But now what the parents value is that you have big houses here, you have mansions, you have what it takes. And to go down to our values, it's like, this is how we survive. Prostitution, that's the best way to go. So it doesn't sound good when you hear some people do that, but there are people who value money, and as a result, they teach their children, okay, why you go to school and you can still move around and get money.
And it's true, Mbuye. It's true, and it's very sad. And that is the reason why we are bringing all these topics down here, trying to help you as a parent who lives among in such kind of a society, that before your child gets out of that door, before they are exposed to these other kids who have come, those other kids are coming from their homes with those values, you see, and they're going to meet with your kids either in university, in school. If you don't give your kids your values in your house, they're going to mix with these kids. And as we know, as the Bible says, that man is born to sin. So we are more prone to sin than to doing good, right? So you will find it is very easy for your kids to adapt that value than to adapt to the values that you're giving them in the house.
Mm-hmm.
So it is very important for you to speak out those values that you uphold right now to your kids, even before letting them out to go and mingle with other children. Because even those kids, they're coming from a home where there are sets of values, and those sets of values, they believe them strongly. Yeah. So that is why I think what Amy says, that it is also important for you to live the values that you're trying to tell your kids to live. Because those kids also there are living the values they are seeing in their homes, right? Yeah. So I don't know anybody else who would like to answer or come in. Any maybe? CJ.
Yeah.
Hello, CJ. You want to
Hi.
contribute on
Hi,
something?
everyone.
Hi.
Yeah, I hope you guys are doing well. In relation to, is it Mbea or I can't remember the name very well.
It's Bernard.
But I think, Bernard, yeah. I think this is how I can answer this is my thoughts on the value part of your question. Yes, it's true that your kids will go out there and they will meet other people with different values and, with different opinions on how life is and how everything is supposed to go on. But what I always believe is that once you've taught your child something, as much as at some point they will go astray, before they conform to other people's values, they will always go back to what you as a parent have taught them, what you as a parent have shown them all through their life. So it is important for one, the parents to show their kids, these are our values, yeah? We cannot force them to like adapt to those values. We can't, especially with this generation right now. You can't force anything on your child. You just can't. You just have to, tell them and show them the way. And as the Bible says, teach a child the way that they should go. Sorry, I'm a Christian. And they shall never depart from it. Even if one day they'll come and go astray from your values, they will always come back to it. That is my belief. That is what I think it is. Thank you.
Thank you very much, CJ. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you want to contribute, just unmute. I'll see you and I'll give you an opportunity.
Let's do one more, and then we'll keep rolling. Anybody else? I think this is really helpful. I'm sorry, I'm going to talk a little bit just for a second, because that idea of seed planting, right? Like, we can't control them, but we can give them, like, here you go, right? Here's this gift. And then fingers crossed, right? So anyway, so other thoughts?
Chaka, go on.
Yeah, I was trying to raise my hand, but I couldn't see the button for raising a hand. So. Yeah. So for me, I think, values are important, but it may be hard. Speaking as a dad, and for me, I live in the West now. As an immigrant, it's even harder to, and I see a lot of that with a lot of folks that have moved from back home to the West, and the values here are very different, especially when they go to school, and they mingle with other kids out there. And then they have a very different worldview from our own worldview. And so even beginning, who had Hollywood and all these movies on that, it even becomes hard when you're beginning to talk. But I think, as Sarah and you pointed out earlier on, that if you began this conversation earlier enough for the children, it'd be very easy for you as they grow up to talk about it. For me, I don't ever remember, honestly, in my 30 plus years, I don't ever remember sitting with my dad or with my mom to talk about sex and issues of relationship. I think even the first time we were having such a conversation was when, you're introducing the lady home. And, but otherwise, apart from that, I don't ever remember, such a conversation. And I wish we spoke about it, because there are many other things that kids go through. We even don't know when they broke their virginity and all that, because we don't have that conversation on one-on-one. So I think for me the question is, for those of us who have been late, who never started this conversation, how then do you begin it? How do you break the ice and begin talking to your kids?
It's a great question. And as an I don't have your experience, right? But I know from other folks, parents who are immigrants, it's this push pull, right? Like, here's your value system, and then here's your kid out, if you're in America, out in our wackadoodle. It's crazy, right? And how do you help your kid have a foot in both worlds, right? And I think because of the internet, you're in that space, right? That you have their foot at home and then they're out, right, out in the world. So I think it just comes back to what you said, like, you have to talk about it. And I don't want y'all to think that, like, I grew up with people talking to me. I did not. Like, my parents didn't talk to me about values at all. And I grew up in the church. I was raised Episcopalian, and it just never ever happened. So kind of back to the point of why Sarah brought us together, is like, this will give you that foundation and those fundamentals. So thanks.
And I think also one more thing is the fact that when you want to start this conversation with your kids, and I think I've done a lot of write-up on that, and I normally say that it is important for you to apologize. When you've not done it yet, it is important for you to apologize and just tell your kids, you know what, I'm really sorry I didn't begin this as early as it was supposed to begin, but we have to do this. We just have to do this. Because as things are, we didn't do it because, nobody did it to you anyway. And you don't even have any basic, like, where do I begin? Where do I even go? What if I'm saying too much? And my teacher normally says, Amy says that, don't mind if you're saying too much. It's rather you say too much than say too little.
Yeah.
Okay. And so at this point, apologize to your kid and just let them know that, you know what, I've let you in the world without telling you what is what. So today, let's just talk about something, And I've always said that don't make it a lecture room. Don't open up a lecture room for your kid.
Don't do
just
this.
just look for an activity to do.
Yeah.
Don't go like, sit here, we want to talk. No. Now look for, just an open a conversation. Maybe you are doing an activity together, and bring out the conversation little by little, as we say, slowly by slowly. Don't bring everything together. Don't talk about contraceptive, sex, and boyfriends and girlfriends and, everything together on one sitting. No, just little by little, and open up the conversation. I think we'll have to do that. We'll have to do also another Zoom on how to begin a conversation. Yes. It's a whole topic by itself. And I really appreciate when you come in. I don't know if we have anyone else, last person with a last answer. We are 8 minutes to our time. Any last person? Just unmute. Sandra? Sandra, you've unmuted yourself. Would you like to ask something? Okay, we can't hear her.
Yeah, it's too bad.
All right, Sandra, it's okay. Yes, somebody.
I'm really glad for what Amy said. Some of the values that we have are not even.
Can we hear him? No. Can you try again? Try your mic again. We can't hear you well.
Yeah, my mic is on.
Oh, that's better.
All right. So I was saying that what Amy said, that some of the values that the children pick up are not even spoken. They see what their parents do and they take it as part of their values. They grow up knowing that this is right and this is not right. So as our children grow up, they tend to meet other children, and now they start to think, all right, this is what I've never seen before because it's never happened in my home. So they now have to decide which values they want to choose, whether they want to choose what they've seen out there or they will choose what they've been brought up with. So I think that values are very important when it comes to their growing up, because that is what they will leave home with. Mm-hmm. There are some children who don't have values at all. Mm-hmm. So if our children's values are not in them, like deep in them, they can lose it and go downhill with other bad behavior or other lifestyle which might not suit the values that they've grown up with. That's what I wanted to just add.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
True.
Thank you very much. Samuel Odero, I can see you have unmuted yourself. You want to add something?
Oh, yes, thank you. Let me just say that I believe that values are caught, they are not taught. And therefore, it's a very important thing to, the lifestyle that you live, it brings or it causes an impact in the life of your children. So they acquire or they see how you live your life, and that will stick with them. And if they have those values, wherever they go, it is very difficult that they will forfeit those values if they saw it and they caught the value. And so that is what I would want to say. But then generally say that this is a great conversation. Let's keep it going and encourage parents out there to talk about sexuality. Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Amy, for your great contributions. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sarah, we need to talk about one more thing, which is what do you do if you didn't make, like, you hold these values, but when you were a young person, you didn't do what you believe now. Like, I did not, like, when I had sex the first time, that is not what I value now. So, like, how do you reconcile your choices when you were a young person versus what you believe now? Sarah and I talked about this when we had our little prep conversation. So I think it would be great if you talk about that, Sarah, because I think it's really an important piece of this conversation about sexuality.
Oh, sure. I don't know if there's anyone else who would really like to contribute on that. Like, maybe what you're trying to tell them to do right now, you never did it when you are growing up. I don't know if there's anybody who would like to talk about that. Maybe you want to add on that before I just give my comment on it. Well, everybody else has zipped. Sandra. Sandra.
I don't know, she's shy.
All right, Sandra, your mic is on, but you don't want to talk to us. It's fine. So now, sometimes you look at it like this. Maybe you want your kid to have sex or maybe have children when they're in marriage or at a certain age. And probably that is totally opposite to what you did. Probably you had your children maybe out of wedlock, or maybe you had them maybe in your teen. One thing I always believe in saying is that acknowledging that part of you, like acknowledge to them, because even if you don't, they'll one day find out, you know. I remember another time we were just having a conversation with my siblings, and we came to realize that our mom actually got our firstborn when she was 15 years old.
Oh, she goes.
Speculation, we realized, oh, mom actually got our firstborn and she was 15, and here she was expecting us to wait, you know. So how do you reconcile that, your past to your present? How do you reconcile that? And I think it is important for you to lay that fact down to your kid and acknowledge the fact that, you know what, it happened, and it happened because maybe I didn't know, or this and this took place, but now that I'm here to help you walk this path, you can do it better. You can do better than me. You can, you know, you can, let's say you can achieve much more better or more things than I achieved at your age or at this age that I did. And that is one part. Acknowledge your past and reconcile it with your present, and talk to your kids about it. I don't know if Amy, if you want to add something.
Yeah, I just think that I think we get uncomfortable about saying, hey, I did this And I would make very different choices now. And then what I hope for you is, it's a very nice way to connect, right? Like, and, you know, we make mistakes, right? We're human. And you can say, you know, I made a mistake. When I look back, I wish this had been what had happened. And, you know, for me, I wish that I had been in a loving, committed relationship with someone who respected me and I respected them. I had a lot of information about like how to not get pregnant and stuff like that, but I didn't have those values around what does a healthy relationship look like. So when I talked to Milo, I basically said, don't be me, be your dad, because Carrie did a much better job in that department. And I talked about why. And, you know, he was not thrilled to have that conversation with me. No one wants to think about their parent being a sexual person at all. But it was important because I wanted him to really see, like, I took this path, your dad took this path. And so I have this great example because I can just say, look at Carrie. But don't be afraid to acknowledge that. One of the things that happens when we talk with our kids like this is that they lean into us. They see us as a human being and they're going to do a way better job listening to us. And you have this life experience, right? Like, Sarah, if you'd known your mom had her first at 15 and talked to you about it, I'm guessing that things might have been different for you, right? Just from that conversation, right? Just from that openness. So, so don't be afraid to talk about those choices you made that you're not proud of, but don't talk to them about your current sex life or relationships. They do not want to hear it. So talk about the past. Don't talk about the present.
Sure. That's very important. And our time is up. And I know we would like to go on. And I would like just to say this, that it is, and this is one remark that I normally make to parents. When you talk to your kids about their sexuality, you're not sending them out to go and have sex, or you're not selling them out to have some fun, you know, with their bodies and so on. It's just like putting on a safety belt. And when you put on a safety belt, you don't tell yourself that I'm going to crash. You know, today I have to put on this safety belt because I'm going to crash. You know, that's not the intention. The intention is you're just taking some precautions before it happens, or when I get there, or if it happens, I'm in a better position. I'm almost saying praise God. But I want to close this conversation at that point. I don't know if anybody has any last remark before I give Amy the last remark. Okay, everybody is muted.
Hey, Sarah, I'm sorry. Sarah, will you pop in a question at your Facebook page, right? This is a great place to have more of this conversation. So sorry, interrupted. Go ahead. Yeah.
Go on, Chaka.
Yeah. My request is on the next meeting and the time. I feel like we just started and you're just ending. So unless I unless I caught up, I got caught up with other things, but I feel like we just started and we just ending. So probably we may need a new day. Another day. Some longer time to talk about this, and that's my request.
Sure, Chaka. We've actually done 1 hour, and it has just gone like that.
Just fast.
You can't imagine. Bernard, do you have a question?
No, Chaka was cooking when you were talking.
Oh.
So he later came up with food. So as we are talking, it is busy.
Well,
I see.
It's recorded.
Thank you for the good program. It's my prayer that we will be able to learn more from this. Thank you, Sarah and Annie, for coming up with this kind of topic. They are really enlightening and really helpful.
Wow.
Yeah. Good. Good.
Amy, before I say something else, lastly, can you just your last remark?
Yeah, my last remark is this is step 1. So congratulations. This is the first step. And yes, Sarah is going to guide you through this process. I just want to let you know that like getting clear about your sexual values is so helpful. And again, it's it's helpful to your kids, but it's really helpful to you because it'll help you settle down and feel more comfortable when you're talking with your kids about the next class, which is like, how do you actually have sex talk? So, so I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you for, I mean, I know I was probably a little bit of a surprise, so I thank you for trusting me with this important conversation and supporting you. And you have, Kenya's got Sarah, so you're in super duper good hands there. She knows her stuff for sure. All right, back to you, my friend.
Thank you very much, Amy. And I just want to say a big thank you to Nelly Kagoro. She is the MD of PAL Media, PAL Radio. She's actually on also. And this has been a station that has also supported this whole thing. And she has also made it possible. So thank you very much, Nelly. I know you can hear me from wherever you are. You don't even want to say a word. It's okay. It is well. It is well. Are you there, please?
Yes, I am. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Amy. Hi, everyone.
Hi. Hi.
Thank you very much. I think this is awesome. It's a big blessing. It's a topic that many people shy away from. So I'm really glad that you had the courage to pick up this conversation. Thank you, Amy. I think next time we can plan better and have a bigger audience. So at PAL Radio, we support the family and the values. So we are willing to partner with you all the way. So thank you so much. God bless you all.
Thank you. Thank you very much. PAL Radio is 96.9. Please tune in. It has amazing programs. And yes, they'll pay me for advertising them here. Anyway, so have a good night. Thank you very much for joining me. It's a pleasure. I'm so humbled. And God bless you. God bless your family. And even as we help our children make sober decisions as they grow up. Mungu abariki sana. Bernard, Lulu FM, iko hapo Pwani. Yeah,
Okay.
It's partner to PAL Radio.
Thank you.
Okay, you're free to leave.
Yeah, thanks you all.
The meeting.
Have a great night. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
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 Bye, Hope.
Yeah.
Bye, Anne. Hey, Samuel, bye. Where's Mom?
Bye.
All right.
Bye. Where's Mom? Pasti. People are not leaving.
People are rolling
Emmy.
out. Yes.
And there's no way you can make people leave.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it. It's been fun. Sarah and I got a debrief.
Yeah, we forgot that part.
Thank you so much.
Taking a debrief. Thank you too. Rahab, thank you so much for coming in.
All right. Bye, Winnie. My middle name is Winifred, by the way.
Oh, Winnie is there. Well, thank you, Winnie, for coming.
Yeah, thanks. See you later. All right.
Leave me.
One more to
Basil, you want to stay? Okay, you can say hi to me now. We are family now.
Yay. Hi.
Hi, Precious. Where are they again?
Was she Precious? Did you listen?
Yeah, she was listening. Can you imagine? I don't know if she was listening.
Where'd they go?
Moz.